How's it going, everyone? This is ND Sean 45 of the Two Irish Brothers Show here. Now, just to give you guys a heads up, the following video that you're about to watch is a video that I did with me and Ben's good friend and colleague, George Bashura of Shakedown the Thunder Sports. Now, George and I ended up talking for a good hour and 45 minutes or so it was a pretty long video. So what I've decided to do was to break the following video down into 4 parts. And what you're about to watch is going to be part 1. So after you watch this one, make sure you guys stay on the lookout for the other 3 parts. So that's why it's important to hit that subscribe button and that notification button as well. So on that note, enjoy the video and go Irish! How's it going, everyone? I am ND Sean 45.
And I'm George Bashura of Shakedown the Thunder Sports, being called out of the bullpen to cover for Ben.
Yes, that's right. And together for today, we are the Two Irish Brothers. So, George, first off, thank you for filling in for Ben today. Ben is currently on a little weekend getaway to St. Louis. And like you said, you are our bullpen man. When one of us isn't here, you're the fill-in. Yep, exactly. You're Mariano Rivera coming in out of the pen.
See, Enter Sandman would have been the great walk-up music.
Well, this ain't Virginia Tech. Come on now. Well, George, it's always a pleasure to have you here. So what's been going on with you? What's anything new with ShakedownTheThunderSports.com?
Well, it's been kind of a tough go, man. Well, as everybody knows, the last 2 years, everyone in pretty much working from home. If you needed to, I know in my job I've had to, and it's been kind of tough. The Shakedown of Thunder Sports is kind of existing. It's kind of tough because when your writing office is your work office, it's hard to put all that time into all that other stuff, and looking to shake off the rust and get back to shaking down the thunder.
That's right, baby. That's right, because spring practice will be here before you know it. But we've got a lot of other stuff going on right now in the world of sports. But before we go any further, first off, everyone, make sure you go and check out ShakedownTheThunderSports.com, which is, as you already know, is George's page that he puts a lot of time into when you're able to. But also, people, if you haven't done it yet, hit that like button and smash that subscribe tab to our channel here, so that way you never miss a video, which is what that notification bell is for. So, George, getting right into business here, but actually before we do, I have something to address that actually will ironically correlate with the topic that we're going to be talking about today. So without going into too much detail, and I hope he sees this video, but a regular viewer of ours who goes by the screen name Sorrowful Rage, without going into all the details, he kind of called me out a little bit on another video. I think it was from the 24/7 Sports page, but so Mr. Rage, if you're watching, you told me to just stop, in your words, bitching about what happened with the stadium in 2017 against Georgia and so on. My response to you, no, I'm not going to stop talking about that. I don't care if that game was 5 years ago or if it was a game 30 years ago. The thing is, and George, you've heard me say this, nobody's really talking about that problem with, allowing the stadium to get taken over, like what happened in 2017 against Georgia, 2000 against Nebraska. Maybe I am beating a dead horse, but you know what? I'll continue to beat that horse because, the old saying goes, if there's a dead horse on the road, it's always going to be there until somebody pulls it off the road, right?
Got to get into the glue factory at some point, man.
Yeah, exactly. And, this is a problem, I think, that really I haven't seen hardly anybody else address. And I think that's a problem with the Notre Dame fan base, because you never see that happen with any other major fan base in college football. I mean, and I could go on and on about that forever, but this actually correlates, like I
It
said,
does
to what
a
we're going to
lot.
be talking about. And this was actually your idea, George, so I got to give you props on this, but it's a good topic to discuss. And today's topic is talking about criticizing college teams, and not just football, but any sport. Criticizing teams when they lose, win or lose, either way, and how that effect trickles down to the student athlete individually. So I guess why don't you fire the first shot, George? What is on your mind about that? What comes to mind?
So to me, it's just kind of crazy. What I always say, and I believe everyone's entitled to their opinion. Okay, I'm not trying to censor anybody in what they may want to express, but there comes a point in time where you got to take a step back and say, "Wow, what am I doing?" I mean, you have the men's basketball coming off a 22-10 season, okay, compared to where they were last year, okay, which was a another quote unquote COVID year, which was 11-15, okay, a below 500 season, and folks were all over Coach Bray and all over the team. And this year, when they go 22-10, they turn it around, okay, and there's still criticism to be had. So March is what it is. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you have the survive and move on mentality, and it's hard winning those 4 games, those 3 or 4 games. It's that's not that easy. And all of a sudden, Notre Dame ranked number 2 in the bracket, right, for the ACC. They go down and they lose. Okay, all of a sudden, everybody who was out there through the year saying, Bray's doing a good job and they're ranked nationally and all this other stuff. Then they go and they lose on a neutral court, okay? And then it's just like the boo birds are just waiting for a moment to jump in and have something to complain about. Okay?
Yeah.
These students owe the fans nothing. The students are there for an education. Okay? You could talk about maybe, what's going on with the coaching system, but give Coach Bray a break. He turned their season around. What more do you want out of a team from going 11-15 and not making the NCAA tournament last year or the last couple of years to this year where they have a very good, they're going to be in the tournament.
Yes.
So, so why all the criticism? It comes down to these folks that are living vicariously, and we've had this discussion before, living vicariously through the players for something that they think that they deserve.
Well, and we could it doesn't matter if we've talked about this before. This is something, this is a topic that needs to remain fresh.
Sure does.
Because it is a problem. Like I said to when I was addressing one of our viewers before we started talking about this, even though that may not seem relevant to the topic, it actually is, because it's fans' behavior and the athletes. You really think the athletes don't see this? You think they don't hear things?
They
But
hate
yeah,
it.
but talking specifically about basketball, I mean, you said it right on the money. We go from an 11-15 team for men's basketball to number 2 in the ACC standings. And yes, I would have loved to have gotten a win, at least one win in the ACC tournament. But we lost to a Virginia Tech team in that tournament that's not exactly a bad team. I mean, that whole ACC conference is a gritty, scrappy conference. Even I'm not sure who exactly is in last place right now in the ACC, but any team from that conference is going to give you a run for your money.
And it's March Madness. I mean, this is what happens, especially when you're in a one and done scenario. It's going to happen. And the greats of all, like the Dukes and stuff. You want to go back and you want to talk about participation, full fan participation. When was the last time you saw Duke not filled? When was the last time that you saw, other things like North Carolina not filled? Okay, it's all about what. I mean, first of all, fan is a fanatic, right? Fan is short for fanatic.
Yeah.
Okay, so it kind of sets you up right there, and being with the media, I've had to put aside the fandom and take it from the media approach. And I'll tell you, the players hate it, coaches hate it. People just don't realize the distraction that they're creating.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And when you talk about the fans and what they're creating, I mean, I could be wrong about this, but didn't Mike Bray in the past used to have to kind of recruit people to come to the games? Because I remember reading something about that or hearing that. I don't know how true it is, but regardless if he is or not, um, you know, I've seen plenty of games this season for that basketball team where, and let's not forget one thing. This is a season that started off kind of rough. As soon as they won that game against Kentucky, their whole season turned around. But even after that upset against Kentucky and they start, kicking butt in the ACC conference play, you're still not seeing the Joyce Center to full capacity. You're still seeing a lot of empty seats in that arena.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, when you look at the season, their worst losing streak was only a 3-game losing streak in the season. And that was right there, smack dab in the middle. It was Texas A&M, it was Illinois, and Boston College. Illinois weren't they a top ranked team in the Big Ten?
Yeah, they're up there. They usually are up there every year in the Big Ten for basketball.
But you're talking about the worst losing streak that they had all season was that little 3-game, was that little series of 3 games in a row that they lost, and the losses mean the loss to other than the loss to Boston College, they weren't all that horrible,
No.
but it's just tough because you don't want to upset somebody, and we're talking about not upsetting fans, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, why are you guys coming down on the fans? Well, it's about the student athlete. Once again, they're given an opportunity to go to Notre Dame for 3 or 4 years, depending, or 5, depending on what's going on, and go get an education and get the chance to play basketball. It's a huge opportunity. These folks are trying to build what's going to be their future resume and doing what they got to do to sell themselves.
Yeah,
And
and athletics are not going to last forever. I'm sorry.
as Coach Holt said, and I'm going to paraphrase what he said to the football team. He goes, "Long after you've left the game, it's not going to be what fans remember you did on the field. It's going to be what you did afterwards." Okay, so, and if everyone likes to think about how Lou Holtz thinks, well, then you need to think about that for a second. Don't criticize them for the moment because they still got a lifetime in front of them to excel as a human being.
Yeah, and listen, and don't get me wrong, I understand that when you when you grow up and you get into the real world, there are going to be criticisms that you do have to face. Yes,
You take it every
exactly.
day.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Same here. We all do. We all do. But when it comes to to sports, that's exactly it. You could complain about the team all you want, say this, say that, but really, like you said, George, none of us, the fans, are owed a national championship. We are not owed glory or fame for that. It's all those men and women who play their respective sports that are the ones busting their tail off to make it happen. And one thing that really kind of pissed me off in regards to like when I was talking about the whole stadium thing is the amount of excuses that I'd get from people when I do bring it up and it gets addressed. I'll hear things like, and this is from a few different people. I heard one person tell me that, oh, the fans did that against Georgia to show the team that they want the team to prove something to them. No,
No,
first off, that's bullcrap because it doesn't. Because that season, okay, go with the whole 2017 Georgia ordeal. We're coming off a 4-8 season, yes, but you know what? It doesn't matter. If you love your team enough, you go to the game. Another thing I heard is the fans sold out the stadium because they didn't like Brian Kelly. They hated Brian Kelly. They wanted him gone, so they sold their. So you're not there to support the coach. You're there to support the team. The team is the one that needs you the most. And just the excuse of Georgia fans eating up the secondary market, blah 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 blah. Well, is the people selling their tickets scalping them, not the secondary market? Can you not say no? So none. The bottom line is there's no excuse, none.
Well, I'm going to go back to what you just said about Brian Kelly. I have a hardened rule. He's become the quote is the name never to be mentioned ever again.
Yeah, you did tell me that. You did tell me that previously.
So that's just a quick little fun there because of situations, but
yeah,
but it's so tough. And the thing is, I was there for that Georgia game. Okay, I was there as a fan. I was not in the media aspect of it yet. I was there as a fan, and you don't see teams across the country who've won national championships, okay, with more opposing fans in the stadium or a large portion of fans in the stadium in proportion. Okay, so if folks want to talk about national championships and things and stuff, that's their part too. Okay, the fans should be there. They should be loud. Make it tough for the opposing team. Okay, it's a weak argument to say, well, we were there for not there for this reason or that reason. You weren't there, and the ones that sell their tickets are typically, I'm not going to say all the time, are big proportion, but these are the folks that complain when Notre Dame doesn't win, and it's being a fair weather fan, and it's just not acceptable. Um, the media sees it. The media hears it in the discussions with the players. Um, and this is why they have sports psychologists on staff.
yeah, oh yeah, because I mean, I understand if you play badly, you're going to get the criticism. But when it's your own fans turning on you because they don't have the faith in you, or because they just want to make a quick buck because it's a big game that's come to town. Yeah, I'd be I'd be a little emotional about that too, and have some thoughts racing through my mind about it. I mean, hell, I'm not a student athlete, never have been, never will, but I can only imagine what it's like for the people who are.
So, in to not to change the subject or to go from
No, that's cool.
one sport to the other, Kyle Hamilton, there was an issue, right? He got injured. He didn't play the rest of the season after the injury. I get it. Okay. Um, the guy needs to look out for himself. Okay, because when you're being told that you're a top 5 draft pick in the NFL, now you're talking dollars. Okay, folks aren't upset about the NIL. Okay, the name and likeness
Yeah.
type of situation, and getting autographs and then reselling them, by the way, and that's really part of what's driving this, right? Is you have so many different groups out there that are out there selling merchandise. Okay,
I'm not shocked by that.
it's a half-hearted approach to the process. You love the team, you want the guy's autograph. Okay, now he gets an opportunity to make some money on it. Okay, and then he gets hurt and then he doesn't play because he doesn't want to hurt himself any further. Okay, Kyle Hamilton was being interviewed. I can't remember what by media outlet, but the question, it came straight. There was a question directed to him about fans. Okay, so this was I'm not sure if it was a larger market. I think it was actually a larger market um, social media group. Okay, but he really laid it on the fans. Who are you to tell me, right, that I can't do what's best for me? The kid did his
Yes.
time. The only thing that you can, I mean, these kids come in early. You love the guy for 3 years that he was here. Okay, you talked about him. I know when in the media, I was there his day one, and that was the big talk about how great he was.
And he and
Okay,
he ended up showing it on the field too.
he was a generational player. Okay, there's one in a generation guys that comes to a school and is just awesome. Okay, the guy makes it. We all talk about career advancement. We know personally, right? We also want to do what's better
Mm-hmm.
for us. Why we wouldn't want to be criticized for making a career move that's going to be better for us? So why should we criticize the student athlete? Why should we criticize the student athlete for doing the same thing? It makes no sense. It's a double standard, Sean.
It is. I'd almost say sometimes it's one standard, but that could be pushing it a little bit. But it's ridiculous. I mean, yeah. Myself as a fan, I wished Kyle Hamilton would have played in the Fiesta Bowl. We could have used him, but I guess that's where I've matured as I've gotten older. That okay, he is doing what he needs to do for his life, for his family. I mean, let's face it. If you get drafted top 5, top 6 in the NFL draft, that's life altering money. That is that everything you've worked for is paying off. Because that's the thing. You only are going to get on an average maybe one contract in the NFL if you're a top prospect. So you got to take it when you can get it. But
I know that I'm going to take advantage of opportunities that come my way, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to protect myself and my future. There's been guys in the past, Cole Kmet. Look, he got hurt before the draft, and then he ended up having to do different things in order to even get drafted. Right? It's a hurry up and recover. I mean, Alex Bars, he was here in my basement when I did an interview, with some of these guys, and he was hurt. He couldn't play, and these guys got to work twice as hard at the end. They got to do as
mm-hmm.
much as they can to prove themselves to an NFL team that they're going to make it. And I know that you appreciate him because he plays for your team.
Yeah, yes, I do. It adds a little extra, a little extra sugar to the dessert, or however that term goes. But you're right though. He's busting his tail off, and it paid off for him. It paid
It's
off, and so
it's just not good. In the end, when you look at all this criticism that comes down, and if I was a parent, some of these parents play bigger roles than others in when the students, student athletes choose their schools, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if I would want to send my kid to a university like the University of Notre Dame because one, I don't want my kid to be taking that criticism. You heard it all this past season with Michael Mayer when he got hurt. Oh, this, oh that. What the hell? You're going to push the guy out the door early. You're not helping the situation. You're actually stoking the fire.
Exactly. It's like
It's common sense.
yeah, common sense, but not just that, but when is like I know he's become he who we shall not mention, but I'm just gonna say Brian Kelly.
It's fine.
You know, you know I can
It's just fun to say that.
no, it is. It's like
Because in relation to Voldemort.
yeah, or almost like the Beatles and John Lennon and Mark David Chapman. They all the rest of the guys always called Mark David Chapman he who we shall not mention.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, yeah. But Brian Kelly, and we all know this. I mean, he's made it very clear has not always been a likable person. He's a very gritty kind of guy, very kind of short tempered, doesn't have a lot of patience, especially for the press, and which I guess I think a lot of people send him are that they just show it in different ways. Maybe he's not exactly a player's coach, but there's nobody can say like you can be pissed off at him. He didn't bring us a national championship and all that, but he turned this football program around from a bad state that it really was in. I mean, we had 15 years of Bob Davie and Ty Willingham and Charlie Weiss. Not saying any of those guys are bad guys, but that time was a mess. Brian Kelly brought us some consistency, and he took us to places, even though we didn't get over the hump. He took us to places that we had not been to since Lou Holtz. He brought us to relevancy, and I don't care if the guy's likable or not. He did his job, and he did it well.
So, and it's actually a great point. And having been in the media room with him, having asked him some great questions, and then sometimes not getting, asking a question that might didn't realize was going to irritate him, but did. You know what? You move on, right? But it's just I'm going to prove a point here. I want to take a sidestep and prove a point.
Sure, that's fine.
Brian Kelly leaves the program, right? For years, right? People talk bad about him, hate him, right? He announces he's leaving, and the same people that said that they hated him are now not happy he's leaving the program.
I've said the same thing. I've said the same thing.
Which side do you want? You can't have it all. You can't have it all. You either the guy's here and you accept it and you deal with it and you move on, right? The guy leaves, you wave goodbye, and you don't deal with it. And the biggest thing is there are some media groups that just keep stoking the fire because it sells. Okay, it's clickbait, and you see it all the time on social media. Folks poking the beer about what's going down at LSU, and with the recent activities. There are media outlets that actually encourage the behavior. And it's tough because those folks are the same ones that'll get on there and they'll ask them a question. Well, how do you feel about the way fans react? Well, first of all, you're not helping the situation. And to me, that gives you zero, in my book, it gives you zero credibility in that aspect.
And it's just the whole thing with well, actually, I'll say this first with Brian Kelly, just kind of my own side note here. I think he's trying a little too hard down at LSU to fit in. And I know you and I have had that conversation, so in that aspect, he's not helping himself because he's trying to be something that he's not instead of just being that guy from Massachusetts, that, the guy from New England who became a hard, gritty football coach. Now he's trying to be a Southern hospitality kind of, with the fake accent thing. He's just trying way too hard to fit in. But I mean, if he's trying to have fun, okay, I get he's really trying to bond with his new fan base.
It doesn't bother me because you know why? It doesn't revolve around the university anymore. It's noise, and it's useless noise.
That's a good point.
Folks just need to. The thing is, you win and lose. The sun rises, the sun sets. Okay, you wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, you go to bed, and you wake up the next day. You hope.
Yeah.
Okay. It's a sport. Okay. It's not cutthroat. It's not something worth going or complaining or criticizing somebody. Yes, be upset about it, but don't go after the players. It's not going to help you.